We're used to seeing images of the flying doctor arriving by plane for the most dramatic medical emergencies, but mental health requires a very different, nuanced, sensitive approach, especially in these tight-knit rural communities where people may be more hesitant to come forward with their stories and ask for help. The expectation to be stoic in the face of adversity, fear of gossip, or losing the respect of friends and neighbours can mean that people who need help the most aren't getting it.
Especially in a small country town where, the rumour mill can go pretty quickly. So I like having somebody who comes but isn't always here. I'm not a local, but yeah, I do spend a lot of time here.
In 2017, the Royal Flying Doctor Service instituted their Wellbeing service. By bringing in clinicians from outside the community and providing a continuity of care that locums simply can't, patients and clients are free to talk openly without worry.
There's a lot of, universal problems. Everyone goes through grief, or everyone goes through heartbreak, or, business problems, financial issues, whatever it is. But yeah, sometimes it presents a bit differently out here. And yeah, it can be really hard if people don't have that avenue or that place to say what's on their mind. They're just internalising things for so long.
I have mental health conditions, and they have been a significant aspect of my life. Living with them, learning how to manage it, how to have a good life, live a happy life despite having it.
Ali is an Iranian nurse who lives in Hopetoun. He was born and raised in Iran, and then he moved to Sydney.
Away from my mother and my brother, who are my two closest family members, thousands of miles away. My mental health condition was always that I am too weak. That's what I have told myself. That's what I could not get out of my head. You're weak, you're lazy, you can't achieve anything. You will always be a burden on your mother. And I realized I need to get help again. And I went to my doctor. He agreed with me that I need to get some help. I need to talk to a psychologist. I came home and I started Googling, finding a psychologist. Do I need to pay for it? Is Medicare covered? Most of the ones I found were different states, different places.
It's just the reality of rural regional Victoria. There's just not as many services. There's places like Hopetoun, the population's about 300 and something. And then Warwick-Nabil population here is about 3,500. I'd say Horsham would be the next closest area, which is about an hour's drive. I know there's 2 private providers in Horsham. There's still a fair wait list in Horsham as well. Yeah, there's not a lot of services there.
But my doctor called me a few days later. They said, are you happy if we arrange you with Royal Flying Doctors? I didn't know Royal Flying Doctors do mental health.
I do 1 week working from home, which is just telehealth and following up on stuff. And then 1 week in the field. So I drive about 450 kilometres to some rural regional areas in northwest Victoria. But we take anybody within like 100 kilometre radius. That's technically our catchment.
I started talking to Leon. Leon helped me to find how I can work with myself, how I can understand myself. And just as a guide, just as someone who looks over your shoulder as you are in your path to challenge and wrestle with this chronic illness. He didn't drag me along, he was walking with me, he was supporting me.
Access to mental health services in metro versus rural regional is really different. Like 7.6% of people in cities access mental health services at some point, whereas in rural regional it gets down to like 1.5% at times. And there's reasons for that. I think a big part of it is just lack of resources. If you're somewhere and there's a wait list and then the next town over might be an hour, 2 hours drive, yeah, that's a barrier to engagement.
If there was no flying doctors, or if I didn't know about them, so my alternatives would have been telehealth with using private health service, which is ridiculously expensive, or driving an hour, 2 hours, and I couldn't have as frequent of sessions. I would have had a much harder time here. I would have been stressed, I would have lost sleep, I would have lost work because I would have called sick or something like that. I I don't know, maybe I would have been suicidal.
The program undertook more than 2,000 consultations in the last financial year, and the number of appointments delivered has grown 305% in just 12 months. It's measured to have saved over 3,700 hours of client travel annually.
We're a not-for-profit service. I'm not trying to get any money out of you at any point. There's no judgment here, there's no right or wrong. I just try to make this a place where they can say whatever's on their mind, because a lot of people, they sort of have a bit of a mask, or there's only so much they let out, and I just want it to be known for therapeutic purposes. It's best if we can just talk as openly and freely as possible, with no judgment. Whatever, this is your place, this is your time.